Silverchair were an Australian rock band, which formed in 1992 as Innocent Criminals in Merewether, Newcastle, with a lineup of Ben Gillies on drums, Daniel Johns on vocals and guitars, and Chris Joannou on bass guitar. The group got their big break in mid-1994 when they won a national demo competition conducted by SBS TV show Nomad and ABC radio station Triple J. The band were signed by Murmur, and were successful on the Australian and international rock stages. During their career, Silverchair won more ARIA Music Awards than any other artist in history, with 21 wins from 49 nominations. The band have also received 6 APRA Awards, with Johns winning 3 songwriting awards at the 2008 ceremony. All 5 of their studio albums have debuted at number 1 on the ARIA Albums Chart. Frogstomp, 1995. Freak Show, 1997. Neon Ballroom, 1999. Diorama, 2002. And Young Modern, 2007. 3 of the group's singles have reached number 1 on the related ARIA Singles Chart. Tomorrow, 1994, Freak, 1997, and Straight Lines, 2007. Silverchair's alternative rock sound had evolved throughout their career, differing styles on specific albums, steadily growing more ambitious over the years. From grunge on their debut to more recent work displaying orchestral and art rock influences. The songwriting and singing of Johns had evolved steadily, while the band had developed an increased element of complexity. In 2003, following the release of Diorama, the band announced a hiatus, during which time members recorded with side projects The Dissociatives, The Mess Hall, and Timbaland. Silverchair were reunited at the 2005 Wave Aid concerts. In 2007, they released their 5th album, Young Modern, and played the Across the Great Divide tour with contemporaries Powderfinger. In May 2011, Silverchair announced an indefinite hiatus, having sold 8 million albums worldwide. History. Formation and early releases. 1992 to 1996. Silverchair's founders, Ben Gillies and Daniel Johns, attended the same primary school in the Newcastle suburb of Merewether. As teenagers, singer-guitarist Johns and drummer Gillies started playing music together. In one class they built a stage out of desks and played rap songs for their schoolmates. When they moved on to Newcastle High School, a fellow student, Chris Joannou, joined the pair on bass guitar. In 1992, they formed Innocent Criminals with Tobin Finan as a second guitarist, but he soon left. They played numerous shows around the Hunter region in their early teens. The repertoire was cover versions of Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple and Black Sabbath. In 1994, Innocent Criminals entered Youth Rock, a national competition for school-based bands, and placed first ahead of older competition. Early in the year they recorded demos of Acid Rain, Cicada, Pure Massacre, and Tomorrow at Platinum Sound Studios. In April, the band's mainstream breakthrough came when they won a national competition called Pick Me, using their demo of Tomorrow. The competition was conducted by the SBS TV show Nomad and Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, alternative radio station Triple J. As part of the prize, Triple J recorded the song and ABC filmed a video, which was aired on the 16th of June. For the video's broadcast, they had changed their name to Silverchair, styled as Silverchair until 2002. In a 1994 interview with Melbourne magazine Buzz, the band claimed the name derived from a radio request for Sliver by Nirvana and Berlin Chair by UMI being mixed up as Silverchair. It was later revealed they were named for the sea. S. Lewis penned novel The Silverchair from the Chronicles of Narnia series. Following a bidding war between rival labels, Silverchair signed a 3-album recording contract with Sony Music subsidiary Murmur Records. Initially the group were managed by their parents, Sony A&R manager John Watson, who was jointly responsible for signing the group, subsequently left the label to become their band manager. In September, their Triple J recording of Tomorrow was released as a 4-track extended play. From late October, it spent 6 weeks at number 1 on the ARIA Singles Chart. In 1995, a re-recorded version of Tomorrow, and a new video, was made for the United States market, becoming the most played song on U.S. modern rock radio that year. Silverchair's debut album, Frogstomp, was recorded in 9 days with production by Kevin Shirley, Lime Spiders, Peter Wells, and was released in March 1995. At the time of recording, the band members were 15 years old, and still attending high school. Frogstomp's lyrical concepts were fiction-based, drawing inspiration from television, hometown tragedies, and perceptions of the pain of friends. The album was well received. AllMusic and Rolling Stone rated it in 4 and 4.5 stars respectively, praising the intensity of the album, especially Tomorrow. Aside from Innocent Criminals, the band has used the George Costanza Trio and Short Elvis as aliases. Frogstomp was a number 1 album in Australia and New Zealand. It reached the Billboard 200 Top 10, making Silverchair the first Australian band to do so since In Excess. It was certified as a US double platinum album by the RIAA, triple platinum in Canada by the CRIA, and multi-platinum in Australia. The album sold more than 4 million copies worldwide. Paste magazine called this album the last stand of grunge. As Frogstomp and Tomorrow continued to gain popularity through 1995, the group toured the US where they supported Red Hot Chili Peppers in June, the Ramones in September, and played on the roof of Radio City Music Hall at the MTV Music Awards. In between touring they continued their secondary education in Newcastle. At the ARIA Music Awards of 1995, the band won 5 awards out of 9 nominations. To collect their awards on the night they sent Josh Shirley, the young son of the album's producer, in a January 1996 murder case. The defendant counsel for Brian Bassett, 16, and Nicolaus MacDonald, 18, claimed that the pair listened to Israel's Son from Frogstomp, which contributed to the murder of Bassett's parents and a younger brother. MacDonald's lawyer cited the lyrics, "Hate is what I feel for you, I want you to know that I want you dead," which were almost a script. They're relevant to everything that happened. The band manager, Watson, issued a statement that they did not condone nor intend any such acts of violence. Prosecutors rejected the defense case and convinced the jury that the murder was committed to steal money and belongings and run off to California. Quote, critical and commercial success. 1997 to 2001. Silverchair began recording their second studio album, Freak Show, in May 1996 while experiencing the success of Frogstomp in Australia and the US. It was produced by Nick Looney, Birthday Party, Models, Midnight Oil, and was released in February 1997. The album reached number 1 in Australia and yielded 3 top 10 singles, Freak, Abuse Me, and Cemetery. Its 4th single, The Door, reached No. 25. The songs focused on the anger and backlash that the expectations of Frogstomp brought upon the band. Freak Show was certified gold in the US, 2 times platinum in Australia, and global sales eventually exceeded 1.5 million copies. By late 1997, the trio had completed their secondary education and, from May 1998, they worked on the third album, Neon Ballroom, which had Lune producing again. It was released in March 1999 and peaked at number 1 in Australia. McFarlane said, as well as being the band's best album to date, it was universally acknowledged as one of the best albums of the year. The band originally intended to take a 12-month break, but in the end decided to devote their time to making music. Neon Ballroom provided 3 Australian top 20 singles. Anthem for the year 2000, Anna's Song, Open Fire, and Miss You Love. A fourth single, Paint Pastel Princess, did not reach the top 50. The albums charted well internationally. Freak Show reached No. 2 in Canada, and Neon Ballroom reached No. 5. Both reached the top 40 on the United Kingdom Albums Chart. Abuse Me reached No. 4 on Billboard's Hot Modern Rock Tracks and Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks charts. Anna's Song, Open Fire, peaked at No. 12 on the Hot Modern Rock Tracks. In 1999, Johns announced that he had developed the eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, due to anxiety. Johns noted that the lyrics to Anna's Song, Open Fire, dealt with his disorder, where he would eat what he needed to stay awake. Quote, he revealed that his eating problems developed from the time of Freak Show, and when Neon Ballroom was written he hated music, really everything about it, but felt that he couldn't stop doing it. I felt like a slave to it. Johns sought therapy and medication but felt it's easier for me to express it through music and lyrics. Silverchair added an auxiliary keyboardist, Sam Holloway, ex-Cordrazine, for the Neon Ballroom tour. The US leg had the group playing with The Offspring and Red Hot Chili Peppers, while Silverchair's tour of UK and European had The Living End as the support act. Rolling Stone's Neva Chonan attributed their chart success to the album's more mature sound. In Europe and South America it became the group's most successful album to date. The group appeared at festivals in Reading and Edgefest, amongst others. Following the tour, the band announced that they would be taking a 12-month break. Their only live performance in 2000 was at the Falls Festival on New Year's Eve. On the 21st of January 2001, the band played to 250,000 people at Rock in Rio, a show they described as the highlight of their career. After the release of Neon Ballroom, Silverchair's 3-album contract with Sony Music had ended. The group eventually signed with Atlantic Records for North and South America, and formed their own label with Watson 11, a music company distributed by EMI for Australia and Asia. In November 2000, after the group had left the label, Sony issued the Best of Volume 1 without the band's involvement. Johns disavowed the compilation. We thought about putting out ads in the street press to make people aware that we weren't endorsing it, but that would have blown the whole thing out of proportion. If people want to buy it, they can buy it, but I wouldn't buy it if I was a Silverchair fan. Quote, Diorama, 2001-2002. In June 2001, Silverchair entered a studio in Sydney with producer David Bottrell, Tool, Peter Gabriel, King Crimson, to start work on their 4th album, Diorama. Johns formally assumed the role of a co-producer. The album name means, a world within a world. Most tracks came from Johns's newfound method of writing material on a piano, a technique he developed during the band's break after Neon Ballroom. In order to complete the vision for Diorama, several other musicians contributed to the album, including Van Dyke Parks, who provided orchestral arrangements to Tuna in the Brine, Love Your Life, and Across the Night. Paul Mac, from Itchy and Scratchy, and Jim Mogany from Midnight Oil. Both on piano, also collaborated with the band. While recording Diorama, Johns referred to himself as an artist, rather than simply being in a rock band. Upon its release, critics commented that the album was more artistic than previous works. Early in December, the first single, The Greatest View, was released to Australian radio networks. Its physical release in January 2002 coincided with the band's appearance on the Big Day Out tour. Early in 2002, Johns was diagnosed with reactive arthritis, which made it difficult for him to play the guitar, and subsequent performances supporting the album's release were cancelled. In March, Diorama was issued and topped the ARIA Albums Chart. It became their fourth #1 album and spent 50 weeks in the top 50. 5 singles were released from the album: The Greatest View, Without You, Love Your Life, Across the Night, and After All These Years. The Greatest View charted highest, reaching No. 3. In October, Silverchair were successful at the ARIA Music Awards of 2002, winning 5 awards including Best Rock Album, and Best Group, and Producer of the Year for Johns. The band played The Greatest View at the ceremony. The song was also nominated for Best Video. 2 singles, and a related video, were nominated for further ARIA Awards in 2003. Following the 2002 ARIA Awards, the band announced an indefinite hiatus. Johns said it was necessary, given the fact the band were together for over a decade and yet were only, on average, 23 years old. From March to June 2003, Silverchair undertook the Across the Night tour to perform Diorama. Their hometown performance on the 19th of April was recorded as Live from Faraway Stables for a 2x CD and 2x DVD released in November. After the tour finished in June, the group announced an indefinite hiatus, extended break and side projects. 2003 to 2005. In 2000, while also working with Silverchair, Johns and Mac released an internet-only EP, I Can't Believe It's Not Rock, in mid-2003. During Silverchair's hiatus, the pair reunited and formed the Dissociatives, releasing a self-titled album in April 2004. The duo provided the theme music for the popular ABC TV music quiz show Spicks and Specks, as a reworking of the Bee Gees' 1966 hit of the same name. Johns also collaborated with then-wife Natalie Imbruglia on her Counting Down the Days album, released in April 2005. Joannou worked with blues rock group The Mess Hall. He co-produced, with Matt Lovell, their 6-track extended play, Feeling Sideways, which was released in May 2003. The album was nominated for the ARIA Award for Best Independent Release in 2003. Joannou and Lovell co-produced the Mess Hall's studio album, Notes from a Ceiling, which was issued in June 2005. Joannou and Lovell received a nomination at the ARIA Music Awards of 2005 for Producer of the Year. In 2003, Gillies formed Tambalan with Wes Carr, initially as a songwriting project. They released a self-titled album in 2005 and toured Australia. The 2004 Boxing Day tsunami resulted in the Wave Aid fundraising concert held in January 2005. Silverchair performed to help raise funds for aid organizations working in disaster-affected areas. As a result of Wave Aid, the band decided to resume working together. Gillies explained the band's reunion as due to a special chemistry between band members, telling the Sydney Morning Herald, "It only took us 15 years, but recently we've realized we've really got something special and we should just go for it." single returned from hiatus 2006 to 2010. After performing at Wave Aid, Silverchair reunited and by late 2005 began preparations for their next studio album, Young Modern. Johns had written about 50 songs during the hiatus for a possible solo album or other project, but decided to use them for Silverchair. In 2006, after 5 weeks practice, the group demoed tracks in the Hunter region, and then recorded at Los Angeles' CD Underbelly Studios with Luné as producer. Parks again arranged orchestral tracks for the band. They traveled to Prague to record with the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra. The group also used Mac, Luke Steele, The Sleepy Jackson, and Julian Hamilton for presets. The Dissociatives. Hamilton also co-wrote songs with Johns. Silverchair self-funded the album's production to ease the pressures faced previously when working with a record label. The band toured extensively before releasing the album, performing at Homebake and numerous other shows. Both Mac and Hamilton joined the tour as auxiliary members, providing keyboards. In October, they performed a cover of Midnight Oil's 1981 single, Don't Wanna Be the One, at the ARIA Music Awards of 2006 as part of the band's induction into the ARIA Hall of Fame. During the performance, Johns spray-painted PG-4PM Peter Garrett for Prime Minister on a stage wall, paying tribute to that band's frontman, then a federal member of parliament and Minister for the Environment, Heritage and the Arts. Young Modern was released in March 2007, as was the first single, Straight Lines. 3 more singles, Reflections of a Sound, If You Keep Losing Sleep, and Mind Reader, were subsequently released. Young Modern became the 5th Silverchair album to top the ARIA Albums Chart. They became the first artist to have 5 #1 albums. Straight Lines also became the band's 3rd No.1 single in Australia. In June, Silverchair and fellow rock group Powderfinger announced the Across the Great Divide tour. The tour promoted the efforts of Reconciliation Australia in mending the 17-year gap in life expectancy between Indigenous and non-Indigenous children. Support acts on the tour were John Butler, Missy Higgins, Kev Carmody, Troy Cassadaly, Claire Bowditch and Deborah Conway. Young Modern and Straight Lines each won 3 awards at the ARIA Music Awards of 2007, taking Silverchair's total to 20. The group also won 3 APRA Awards for their song, Straight Lines, including Songwriter of the Year, which Johns was awarded for a record 3rd time. At the ARIA Music Awards of 2008, both Silverchair and Powderfinger won Best Music DVD for Across the Great Divide. For Silverchair, this was their 21st win from 49 nominations, according to Silverchair's website. As of June 2009, the group had begun work on the follow-up to Young Modern. They had spent 3 weeks recording in Australia, with future sessions earmarked for later that year. No release date was set, but the band uploaded in-studio videos of them working on several tracks to their official website. In December, Johns called into Triple J's breakfast show, Robbie, Marika and the Doctor, and discussed the band's new album, which they were working on in Newcastle. He told them, "The main difference is there's a lot of experimentation with instruments and synths. I think there's only guitar on 4 songs out of 50 so far." But added the new material is surprisingly rocky given there's no guitar. Quote, in April 2010, via the band's website, Joannou announced that they would perform 2 new songs called 16 and Machina Collector at Maze Groove and the Moo Festival. He said work was progressing well and confirmed there was, as yet, no title for the proposed album and that they were simply referring to it as Album No. 6. The final concert of the festival was at Bunbury on the 15th of May. By year's end, work on the album had stopped as each member pursued other interests. Indefinite hibernation. 2011–present. On the 25th of May 2011, Silverchair announced an indefinite hiatus. We formed Silverchair nearly 20 years ago when we were just 12 years old. Today we stand by the same rules now as we did back then. If the band stops being fun and if it's no longer fulfilling creatively, then we need to stop. Despite our best efforts over the last year or so, it's become increasingly clear that the spark simply isn't there between the three of us at the moment. Therefore, after much soul-searching, we wanted to let you know that we're putting Silverchair into indefinite hibernation, and we've decided to each do our own thing for the foreseeable future. Sydney Morning Herald music writer Bernard Zuhl said the band's use of indefinite hibernation was a way to soften the blow of the group's breakup for fans. He expected future reunions and performances for worthy causes. By June, Gillies was in the final stages of about 12 months of working on his solo album, and he said that it was not a continuation of his earlier work with Timbaland. In October, Johns was working on the soundtrack for My Mind's Own Melody, a short film. In May 2012, Johns recorded the new anthem for Qantas titled Atlas. It is the first piece of commercial music Johns has composed. The members of Silverchair have stated that they have not ruled out a reunion. Gillies has said that there are plans to release a new Silverchair album, which was almost finished before the hiatus. Musical style. Silverchair are generally classified as an alternative rock and grunge band, although their loyalty to specific genres has changed as they have matured. Much of the band's early grunge and post-grunge work was inspired by Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains and Black Sabbath. According to Australian rock music historian Ian McFarlane, Frogstomp captured the tempo of the times with its mix of Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Bush post-grunge, noise and teenage lyrical angst. Quote, in their early years, the perceived stylistic similarities led to Silverchair being derisively dubbed as Silver High Chair, not Soundgarden but Kindergarten, or Nirvana in Pyjamas by the Australian media. The latter is a sarcastic, conflated reference to the band's youth and the popular Australian children's TV series Bananas in Pyjamas. McFarlane stated, Freak Show and tracks like Freak were firmly in Nirvana territory with a hint of Led Zeppelin's Eastern mysticism. Gillies noted that the band were inspired by the Seattle sound, as well as the Beatles and the Doors, and were highly impressionable in the youth. Johns admitted that, we were always influenced a lot by Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, it just so happened that we weren't very good at playing that style of music. So we were put in the whole grunge category because it was such a garage-y, heavy music term. Quote, Australian rock music journalist Edna Mivall felt that Johns had never intended to use his problems for inspiration, but in the end the music was the best way to unburden himself. Neon Ballroom took 6 months to record. The album's passion and musical sophistication proved to the world that Silverchair were a force to be reckoned with. According to 100 Best Australian Albums, by 3 fellow journalists, John O'Donnell, Toby Cresswell and Craig Matheson, Neon Ballroom's lead-in track, Emotion Sickness, described Johns' life in the 1990s and addressed his desire to move beyond the imitative sounds of Silverchair's first 2 albums and create something new and original. Anna's song, Open Fire, directly focused on his eating disorder. Quote, it became a hit all over the world and opened up for discussion the fact that males could also be affected by anorexia. Quote, AllMusic Stephen Thomas Erlewine felt Diorama was a shockingly creative and impressive step forward that showed the band shedding its grunge past and adding horns, strings, and mature lyrics to its arsenal. Fellow AllMusic reviewer Bradley Toriano noted that they somehow kept going and kept improving. Silverchair has grown up and put together a fine mix of orchestral pop and rock on Diorama. Bernard Zool described how the Diorama concert tour marked a move from hard rock towards art rock. They stepped out of the arenas and barns and got classy, finally having admitted to harboring artistic ambition. A very un-Australian band thing to do. They've proved they have the ability. In writing Young Modern, Johns tried to make the music sound very simple. Despite a complex musical structure, the lyrics were written after the music was created, sometimes as late as the day of recording. As Johns dreads writing lyrics, he suggested that the band could produce an instrumental album at some stage in the future. Johns is the band's primary songwriter, and notes that while Joannou and Gillies do not have significant influence on what he writes, they are key to the band's overall sound. For that album, Hamilton co-wrote 4 songs with Johns, including the APRA award-winning Straight Lines. Joannou believed that Young Modern was simpler than Diorama but still as complex underneath, with simple pop song elements. He said that much of the band's success resulted from trying to push themselves harder in recording and writing. Self-producing has allowed the band to do so without the pressures of a record label. Gillies notes that Silverchair will often run the risk of losing fans with their work, and this was evident in the changes in musical direction in Diorama and Young Modern. However, he described this as a good thing, describing the fact that we haven't been pigeonholed, and people really don't know what to expect, as one of the attractive elements of the band. Despite the ups and downs of success at a young age, Gillies says the band appreciate what we've achieved and what we've got in the careers. The band have received 6 APRA awards, with Johns winning 3 songwriting awards at the 2008 ceremony. Reception. Frogstomp was described as similar to Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Erlewine noted that it followed in the alternative rock tradition of those bands. Erlewine also stated that their songwriting abilities aren't as strong as those of their peers. However, Rolling Stone claimed that the band had risen above their peers, applauding Johns's ragged vocals. Herald Sun journalist Nuet Kohar praised Frogstomp for breaking the drought of Australian music, making an impact overseas. However, he felt it is highly debatable whether the 3 teens have gone to the world with a new sound or something identifiably Australian. Silverchair's image and sound are blatantly Nirvana meets Pearl Jam. Nimmerville disputed T. Kohar's view. It's not original. It's not Australian. Bah, humbug. It's just as well Britain didn't say the same thing when the Beatles reinvented American R&B. Freak Show saw the band show more of their own musical style, rather than copying others, and thus received more praise for its songwriting than its predecessor. Yahoo! Music's Sandy Masuo described the lyrics as moving and emotional. Johns's vocal delivery was complimented. His bittersweet, crackly voice tops the ample power chordage. He hits shivery, emotional notes that convey both sweet idealism and disappointment. Zool felt that with this album, the band have outgrown the jokes, predictions and their own understated teenage ambitions to find they have become, gasp, career musicians. Quote, in 100 Best Australian Albums, 2010, their third album, Neon Ballroom, was placed at No. 25 according to its authors. Entertainment Weekly approved of the further advancement in Neon Ballroom, commenting on plush strings on these adult arrangements. There were once again significant advancements in songwriting. Johns was described as furious, motivated, and all grown up. However, Rolling Stone said the album seemed confused, commenting that Silverchair can't decide what they want to do with their music. Meanwhile, Diorama was seen as an extension of the band's originality, with its heavy orchestration, unpredictable melodic shifts and a whimsical pop sensibility. According to Pop Matter's Nikki Tranter, the album stood out in an otherwise dull Australian music market. AllMusic's Clayton Bolger described Young Modern as an improvement by the band, praising catchy melodic hooks, inspired lyrical themes, and stunning string arrangements. He claimed the album was the pinnacle of the band's development. Pop Matter's Nick Pearson saw the opposite, claiming that NCEU reached the level of intellectual maturity where you can tell the difference between cryptic but poetic lyrics and nonsensical crap. You have outgrown Silverchair. Pearson called the album an attempt to secure a safer territory and assure sales after the success of past works, calling it more boring than its predecessors. Other reviewers noted influences from cult British band XTC. In July 2009, Tomorrow was voted number 33 by the Australian public in Triple J's Hottest 100 of all time. As of May 2011, the group have sold close to 8 million albums worldwide. At the annual ARIA Music Awards, Silverchair holds the record for the most nominated artist, with 49, and the most number of awards won, with 21. Their breakthrough year was in 1995, when they won 5 out of 9 nominations, including Best New Talent and Breakthrough Artist for both album and single categories. Their most successful year was at the 2007 ceremony when they won 6 of 8 nominations. Members: Ben Gillies, drums, percussion, 1992 to 2011. Chris Joannou, bass guitar, 1992 to 2011. Daniel Johns, lead vocals, lead guitar, piano, harpsichord, orchestral arrangements, 1992 to 2011. Auxiliary members: Tobin Finan, rhythm guitar, 1992. Only in Innocent Criminals. Sam Holloway, keyboards, samples, 1999 to 2001. Paul Mack, keyboards, piano, remixing, programming, 2001 to 2003. 2006-2007. Julian Hamilton, keyboards, backing vocals, 2001 to 2003. 2007. Discography. Studio albums: Frogstomp, 1995. Freak Show, 1997. Neon Ballroom, 1999. Diorama, 2002. Young Modern, 2007. See also: List of awards and nominations received by Silverchair. Music of Australia. Official website. Silverchair at Curly. Based on DMOZ. Silverchair discography at Music Brains.